started. As soon as James shared his screen with me, I was able to do the split screen and make them the same size each window.
Yeah.
Now, when we do that, do you want each window the same size, or do you want like the screen to be 3/4 and you 1/4? How do you want that to look?
Well, I thought that would be more ideal. I mean, yes, we can go from the full screen to me like I did last time, if that worked for you. But I thought what is nice is when you can have the screen fully there and there's no thumbnail of a photograph blocking, because last time that was blocking things and I couldn't see, and because I couldn't see what the audience was seeing.
Unfortunately, that's still going to happen on your side. On my side, that's recording, it will show differently for the audience, but it won't show different for you. That's good old Zoom.
Okay. And you know what, today we tried to call them and there were 500 people in the queue in front of us.
Vivienne, I'm in the queue still from 2 weeks ago. Okay? Forget about it. Yeah, you're not getting through to Zoom technical support at this point.
What's the ID meeting so I can join on my iPad?
So I have no idea. Let me see.
I didn't want to give you work either, but I thought that was such a huge thing when I saw that you could do all of that stuff, and I was struggling to figure it out myself. And I looked at all these ridiculous videos on YouTube and on Zoom. And yeah. Good evening, Andrew.
Hello there, Viv.
How are you?
I'm good.
You know what the meeting ID was that I sent out, James?
Yep, I have it right here. So Vivienne, the meeting ID is 127-798-137.
Oh, and what's the password?
BBR, all capital.
Capital. Okay. BBR.
Business reset.
Oh, incorrect. BBR.
Correct, all capitals.
Okay. Jolly good. Oh, good.
Nikki here. Everybody's in here tonight. Good deal. I know a lot of people were excited to see this second part, Vivienne. So we're at 7:59. We are going to start at 8:10 tonight. Give 10 more minutes for everybody to get on, get ready, and get this thing fired up. So enjoy the before show.
I like your background.
Whose, James or mine? I changed it.
Well, I love Derek's, but I like your one tonight, Derek. I like James's though. His is cool.
Yeah, I changed to the Manhattan skyline tonight instead of the jet.
Is that from home, from New Jersey? That's what you see?
No, that's right. That's right near you, Andrew. Just on the other
beans. You can spill the beans.
That's the view behind you?
You know, that view I think is probably from over in Brooklyn somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's pointing towards the Freedom Tower from over the other side of the bridge. So.
And Andrew will be happy to know that it went back to the t-shirt rules and didn't go with classic black. So
perfect.
This time there's a fly.
Oh, the fly.
Because I would love to be a fly on the wall in all that Vivienne does. So you never know with, you know, we know that the internet is watching us and Google is doing all these things to our phones. So Vivienne, there may be a chance that I'm going to get a hacker to jump in and I'm going to keep an eye on all these crazy fun things that you do.
Well, you know, on Monday, I'm doing my first tutorial with Beth live. I'm not a color,
yeah.
So I'm doing it and it's hysterical. So she's sending me all this stuff and I'm already freaking out thinking, I didn't even know how to put a foil in the head, right?
Good. Good.
And I can put up the Belmar webcam if you want. She said that's
so much fun. I mean, I hope she's got a real good sense of humor.
I know I saw Suzanne hanging out at the restaurant right here in Belmar in one of her pictures. So that I can hit that with a stone from my house.
Oh, really?
Hey, Vivienne, Melody asks, where are you doing this thing with Beth on Monday?
We're doing it on, there's a link that we're going to post in our group, but it's actually on Head Designer TV for our members. Cool. So yeah, so we can give people a link to it.
If you need somebody to DJ it, I would be happy to, because I can't even imagine what that's going to be like.
Oh my gosh,
it's going to be fun. That's what it's going to be like.
How do you mute?
Heidi wants to know ahead of time with
iPad.
Oh, touch the top corner, Vivienne, and it'll say disconnect audio.
Which corner?
Right on the top of the iPad, you'll see where it says more and just click disconnect audio.
Oh, disconnect audio. Fantastic.
There you are.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and
so
what you
good.
can do, so what I do in my studio here is I keep speaker view on my iPad. So regardless of what we see on the screen, I see only who's speaking so that it's a little more connected.
And James, you are just so out there with the
That's
tech.
good. So are you a DJ as well?
No, I should be though, but
Really?
actually I want to be a hunter now. Like, not that I condone hunting per se, but with three kids at home and homeschooling, I want one of those like dart guns that they have on Discovery Channel. I think that's going to be the new game. Run around the yard, and Daddy's going to try to knock you out so that you can finally sleep before 11 p.m.
What about those paintball things?
Listen, it's got to be enough. The little one especially, there's got to be enough in there. If you had to gauge the dosage, she needs the Rhino dose, not the Dashan dose.
How old is she?
My littlest is in third grade, so she's been she's always a pleasure in her reports that she gets home from school. And her teacher was actually her kindergarten teacher that bumped up to third grade, and we can't believe how shy and reserved she is in class. And if you saw her in homeschooling, it's like pancakes on the ceiling, and it's
Well, that's it. All kid. That's the way all kids are. Everybody goes, "Oh my God, your kid's so reserved. They're so sweet. This, that," and they come home and it's like a troll running around your house.
She needs
yeah.
to be told to sit on the naughty step.
Yeah. Well, you know what has to happen is I don't know. They have to go back to some version of school or maybe they'll join the Marines. We can send them to actually go to the front lines and actually make a difference in this fight because
That
I don't
used
know
to
how
be
much
my
longer
favorite
we're going to
line with my
last.
daughter. I'm going to ship you off.
Yeah. It is. It's really funny. But what I'll do is I'll actually video it time lapse, and I'll send it to you, Vivienne, and I'll put the Benny Hill theme song behind it because it's just so fitting.
And you got to have the little guy getting slapped in the head too.
Yeah, well. Listen, we have enough issues with the SBA and the federal government now. The last thing I need is somebody banging on the door, right?
I am a huge Benny Hill fan and Monty Python fan. So
Oh, I'm thinking of the theme song now. It's like every single day. It's the same thing.
yeah,
Are they really like fed up with it all? The
It's
kids?
just difficult because but depending on age bracket, we have a lot of friends that are homeschooling and things now too, is that it's the login capability. So my son, who is my oldest, is in seventh grade and he has to be clocked in like you're punching in a time clock and actually sit there in front of that for the entire school time. So you have to make sure that he's not messing around on Xbox while he's supposed to be in science class and so it's not set it and forget it. Sorry, Ron Popeil, maybe he'll jump on one of these calls.
Well, it becomes a challenge to the educators because, hey, if the stuff is boring, if the way of teaching it's not the kids, it's the teachers. They're not engaging. I swear.
no, it's true. It's true. It's true. I am surprised they haven't adapted the technology that I have for the virtual assistants, Andrew, that actually tells me what their screen time is, actually, and what program they're on throughout the day. I can actually watch their screen to make sure they are focusing and doing their job. That's a good virtual assistant software, very cheap, by the way. If anybody needs to know what it is, I'll let them know. But I'm surprised they haven't done that with kids. I know they're doing Zoom, but they have the ability for a couple nickels to actually see what their screen time is doing, whether they're doing their homework, whether they're watching the Zoom.
Yeah, they're also cautious too because of I don't know what the compliance is. So sort of like HIPAA compliance with what
Yeah.
they see and how much contact they can have with these kids through a video chat. So
You got to be
it's like
careful with
completely
kids,
vulnerable.
right?
Yeah, I
So,
mean, if you get, yes, it's complicated.
That's what we specialize in, complicated, right? So I'm learning all these homeschooling techniques so that Vivian and I can have a call on Hair Designer TV and I can say, this is what's not working just in the schooling of three kids. So imagine trying to do it for a staff of 10. So we're gonna reinvent everything.
yeah. So
Like Vivian, you need like a shock collar, right? You could put it on and you could remotely just say, "Bzz, you're doing that wrong." And
Yeah, just zap
On
them.
the scissors. Oh!
Yeah. A cattle
we're going
prod.
to start in 4 minutes.
Uh-oh. 4 minutes.
Uh-oh, Viv, are you all set up?
Yeah, I am. I have a video that starts. It's like 3 minutes.
Yeah, the video worked really nice last time, Vivian. It worked really well.
Yeah, and I sent the real videos to you just in case you needed them, Derek.
Yeah, it recorded from our recording, so it came up good.
All right.
You are on YouTube. The YouTube looked great. All good to go.
Good.
You have good production quality, Vivienne. You're good at this. And if you're not by now, wrap it up.
I know, really. Editing I think being an editor actually just improves what you shoot, because you really can see the shot, because you can only edit what you've got. So I think being an editor is really very helpful. And it trains your eye. It was interesting today, somebody who was working on a piece, it's a color piece that we're doing, and this gentleman, he's brilliant. Beautiful color work, and very soft, very gentle personality, did very sexy, pretty color. So I asked this other editor to just put together a little intro for me, and he uses this high tech, high energy, flashing kind of techno stuff, and it was like, whoa, this is so strong. And I said, this has nothing to do with the storyline. The storyline is soft, romantic, pretty, like mellow, jazz, sexy, and you've just done this techno stuff. I said, you need to be listening to what I'm going to be saying tonight, because it applies to music too.
One of the guys, I had the privilege of, he passed away this year, and kind of a controversial hairdresser, was the French version of Vidal Sassoon, Jean-Louis David. And I worked for many years with Jean-Louis, and noticed that he did all his filming. He did all his photography. Originally, he had guys like Helmut Newton doing it, because he was all friends with these great photographers. And then he developed his technique and became the editor, became the videographer, the director, and then he got other talent to do the work. And he produced some amazing work. Literally he did. It was a pleasure to watch him.
Well, there are a lot of photographers who've crossed over to be radio
Kick off
photographers.
in 2 minutes.
What is that, Vivienne?
There's a lot of photographers who've crossed over to become really good photographers.
Hairdressers.
Yeah. Anthony Muscola, he's a great photographer. Robert Labette's an incredible photographer.
He's incredible.
Damien Carney, incredible photographer. Yeah, there's quite a few out there.
So, Miss Vivienne, are you ready to get the show on the road?
I am indeed.
So let me just one more minute here. Okay, we're all set on everything. You ready? Okay, guys, mute yourself except Vivienne. So welcome to tonight's meeting with the Beauty Business Reset. Tonight we have the honor of having Vivienne on again for part 2. Vivienne's going to be going through her lesson, what's left of her lesson from the other night. And we're excited, obviously, to have you on for this part, Vivienne, because I think this is really the meat and potatoes of it, right? So we're really excited about this tonight. And with that, I'm going to kick it off to you.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you to you, Derek, for you and Andrew for creating this amazing forum. And I know it's been an amazing amount of work. Thank you, James, for being here to support us. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you all for spending the evening with me. And I'm always mindful of when I put material together that I never ever want to waste anyone's time. So we're going to jump into part 2 of this presentation, which is all about how you develop that great sense of style. And we all do a consultation, but there's always room to take it to that next level. So I want to now go and share my screen and share with you a really cool video to get the energy up, and we'll get started. How do you teach intuition? That sense of knowing when something's right and when it's so wrong. So today there's this illusion of quickly learn something and jump into the business. And I believe that mastery is where we should focus. let's face it, sometimes it feels like we get on the assembly line and it's next, next, next. Sometimes I think we get so jammed up in technique that we forget that if we don't design to the person who's sitting in our chair, it doesn't matter how brilliant that hairstyle is. Your blow dryers are going to be extraordinary, creative and talented. You're going to increase your confidence. You're going to have fun. You're going to have more diversity in your work. I have figured out how to break down all of my intuitive decisions and teach it back to you. It's a very crowded market, and how do you stand out in that sea of sameness? I'm Vivienne Mackinder. I hope you'll join me for one of my workshops. And more important than that, I hope that soon we can all get back together again so that we can see each other beyond this digital platform, as amazing as it is. I saw this great quote today from Sadhguru, and I thought, gosh, this is great. He's my yogi that I do yoga with, and just a really amazing gentleman. Whatever you have, your skills, your love, your joy, your ingenuity, your ability to do things, please show it now. Do not try to save it for another lifetime. And I think that it's so easy in our world to put things off and say, well, I'll get to that later. And one of my other great mentors that I have is John Maxwell. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's an amazing leader, and he's a New York Times bestseller. He's written, gosh, must be at least 80, maybe even more, 80 books. And he has an incredible gift for sharing and inspiring people. And I became a coach for him some time ago. And I remember John said, you need a place, a physical place in your space, in your home, that's a place where you go to reflect. And he said, call it your thinking chair. And if you haven't been to that physical space in a while, then you haven't been doing much reflecting. And as a futurist, for me, it's really hard to think backwards because I'm always thinking forwards. But I do realize the importance of that time of reflection to start to look at what do I do really well, but what could I do better? And so with that in mind, I did promise you last week I would share with you some information about my survival package. And this is the link to it. It's salonsurvival.viviennemackinder.com. So you can sign up for that. And I think you'll be pretty excited by what we put together. So now let's dive back into our content. I want to feed your heart as well as your pocket tonight. We already explored in part one, and for any of you who did not see part one, I encourage you to go back and look at that, and please share it with your team. Part one was about building the brand and the clients that you want, the law of attraction, and how does that play in your life, that powerful energy. And I was speaking to that energy, that it's not luck as to who sits in our chair, it's how we brand, how we market ourselves, but there's such intention around what we want to attract. And we can clearly see today the power of an energy force that we cannot see, the coronavirus. It's a powerful energy force, and look at what it's doing. Now think about a good energy force, your energy force with intention to have so much clarity about your brand, so much clarity about what you want sitting in your chair. And when you put that out there, it's just amazing what happens. And I've seen it happen so many times in my own life, as well as people that I've coached and trained. Then we have the law of compensation, the 3 laws of compensation, which for me has always been a motivating factor. How do I increase my skill? How do I increase my demand? And how do I make myself hard to replace? We also explored the 4 emotional drivers that determine our destiny. How we deal with frustration, intimidation, a lack of motivation, and how we can get inspired. So now we're going to go into our 5-star consultation. I believe the consultation is the gatekeeper to your brand and your creativity. I asked you in the last session, why did you become a hairdresser? And if you go back and think as to why you thought hairdressing would be a great business to be in, how far away from the why you came into this business have you drifted? How much of life and stuff has pulled you in a different direction? Could you tonight get more in alignment and actually go for it in a totally different way? Well, I believe it's possible. And I'm going to give you the tools to do that. I'm going to take you quite lightly through a subject that has a very deep dive. On Who is Sitting in Your Chair on Hair Designer TV, I take you in depth through the content I'm providing tonight. A deep dive into consultation, a deep dive into communication skills, fashion, style, and of course, how to design to face shape. And that's what we're going to explore tonight. I met this lovely lady online, and she wrote to me and said, Viv, I've been in the business for 26 years and I've lost hope. I am not making enough money. I keep drifting in and out of this business and I just don't know what to do. And so I said, well, I can recommend some coaches to you that can help you. And she said, well, I really can't afford a coach. And she came up with a lot of reasons why life was not working for her. My sister, who does therapeutic work, I said to her, should we together see if we can help this lovely lady, Annie? Let's just do a live session and coach her and see if we can guide her and get her on path. After we did this kind of interview, and actually it's on Hair Designer TV, we use it as a coaching model, we discovered that her biggest issue was anxiety around a new guest. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, because I get anxious around someone who I've never worked with before. There's always that, I hope they're gonna like it. I hope I don't misread them. I hope everything works out well. It's there because I care. But Annie's was out of control. And she said that she'd never learned or been comfortable around a consultation. And she just felt like she was a people pleaser and was never pleasing herself. And she loved the artistic expression and so on and so forth. So I said, Annie, I'm going to sign you up for Hair Designer TV. And I just want you to study the soft skills. I want you to study and study face shape design, consultation. I want you to really dive deeply into that for 1 month. And then 1 month later, we'll come back and we'll connect. And I was just curious to see if technically nothing altered, just keep everything the same technically, but shift how you're working through your soft skills. Could we give a transformation to Annie's life? So this is what actually happened. So how have your clients been responding to Annie?
My clients are so excited. And my business has tripled. It's incredible. They don't quite know who I am. They're like, wait a minute.
So the Annie that I first met lacked confidence and she was shy. And what I did was I gave her tools that were usable. And that's my goal tonight for you. So the first thing that I know that is so important to be a person of influence, a true influencer, are these 3 qualities. Show how much you care by how you ask and how you listen. Show how much you can help. Are you the solution to the problem? And prove you can be trusted. Will you deliver on your promise? It's so easy to assume an assumption can lead to an empty chair. So care, help, and trust. I know that we show that in certain ways, but does the client really experience that care, help, and trust? And this is how I've broken it down in a way that's teachable and a way that you can work with this every single day. How many of you would like to save time on your consultation? How many of you find that some things in a consultation are awkward to ask, so therefore you don't ask them? And I think there are certain questions that are courage questions. So if I could save you time, but you get a better end result, would you be interested? I always believe if your consultation has gone beyond 5 minutes, it's going nowhere because you're not on the same page. And what we're doing here is trying to get everyone on the same page. So awkward questions to ask in person are very different from the written questions in this questionnaire. So I've already highlighted the questions that are really awkward. So my client will receive this form before I see her. And She fills this out. So that means she's already ahead of my curve. She's already in the consultation before I've seen her. So that already saves time because she's already thinking about what she wants. And I'm asking her questions that people have not asked before. The first thing I want to know when someone new is working with me, why did they leave their last hair colorist or stylist? That's a really important question. And truly, it's a very awkward question to ask in person. And it certainly would not be a good introduction to a conversation because it immediately makes you defensive. But I need to know that. So that to me is number one. And I remember one time I was working with this lady and she put on her form that the reason she left her previous person was because they cut her fringe too short. And then I went down the form and I found out that her favorite feature was her fringe and her least favorite feature was her forehead. So I'm thinking, okay, so I lift up her fringe and I see that she's got a huge forehead. And I also see that her hairline jumps. And I go, oh my goodness, I can see if I'm not careful here, this fringe is going to jump. And it doesn't matter how amazing 95% of this haircut is. If this one part through here is wrong, I've lost this person. So I'm learning something from the person who did not read this woman's hair correctly. Now they're sitting in my chair. This is a very important question to ask, but it's an awkward one to ask, but in a form it's easy. The other one that in person is very difficult to ask, but in a form is not, is budget. And I think this is a really elegant way of determining financials. Budget, what role does your budget play in choosing your salon services and frequency of visit? Not important, somewhat important, very important. The next part I have here is about the fashion and the lifestyle. And the fashion and the lifestyle, again, can be a really awkward question to ask. You know, what kind of fashions and styles do you like? So when I look at the first part of my form, the first part is divided into lifestyle, which is really time and money. How much time do you have to manage your hair and how much money do you have to maintain it? And those are two very important things. So if you want to know someone's value, look at their checkbook and look at their diary, and that's how they spend their time and they spend their money. So when I have that in a form, it's very easy for me to kind of go, okay, budget's important or it's not. We've got that one sorted out. Obviously, I want to know how long they're prepared to spend on their hair so that I know whether they're a high maintenance or a low maintenance person. The other one I'm going to jump down is personality. I would feel really weird to say to somebody, are you an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert? Now, obviously, you read energy, the person who's whispering, the person who is louder than life, the way that they show up, we can see that. But sometimes we're so busy, and by the time they're caped, we're just looking at a head, and we can easily forget that there is this person who has an energy or quiet energy sitting in our chair. When I have someone who's quiet in their energy, I match their energy with my voice. So I take my voice down and I meet them where they live. And that my conversation becomes a lot softer so that they're comfortable. When I'm working with someone who's got a lot of high energy, I raise the energy of my voice and I match their energy. And that's very important to do that. Some people who are good communicators naturally do it. Some have to be trained. And it's really worth being aware of that. The other thing that would be so uncomfortable for me and for many women and gentlemen to ask is, how feminine would you like your look to be? So I'm not going to say to someone, well, how feminine would you like it? But I do need to know, but it's an awkward one to ask. And sometimes it comes up in the conversation, like I like to feel glamorous, but very often it doesn't. Because very often in our consultation, we're talking about the technique and the service we're providing. And we completely bypass this unless we've got extraordinary people skills and we're very observant. So when we're asking how feminine we'd like the hairstyle to be, that's an important thing for me to know. Another thing that's incredibly awkward to ask is, okay, darling, how old do you want to look? And I remember one time I said to this lady, after I finished her hair, I said, wow, I said, your hairstyle has made you look 10 years younger. And she looked at me like, really? And I said, it does, doesn't it? She said, well, that will make me look 10 years old. I thought, 10 years old? I thought she was 30 and I'd made her 20, but she was actually 20. So technically I made her 10. And then I already put my foot in it, so might as well put the other one in. I went, oh my gosh, really? I said, I thought you were 30. Not a good idea. Anyway, it's an awkward question to ask. So what I have determined is if this can be asked beforehand, then it's a very powerful thing. So let me now take you beyond the awkward questions and let's go into the other things that I ask within this consultation. You know, they say that when the emotion subsides, then decide. And sometimes someone can sit in your chair and they are desperate for change because, I don't know, their husband's run away with the secretary or whatever. And then there are people who are inspired for change. And I always think you have to look at where that person is emotionally when they're sitting there. The other thing that I know is the definition of complaining means to remain the same. So very often you can have someone complaining about their hair, complaining about all these different things. And then you say, well, I've got some great ideas for you. And they don't want to change. So what we have here in our form, I've pointed out the awkward questions, but what we have here is how happy are you with your current look on a scale of 1 to 10? How open are you for change on a 1 to 10? I then have how much time are you willing to spend on your hair each day? That's important for me to know. I then need to know how often you can come in to maintain your hairstyle. And then of course, I'm going to the budget. So I have now determined where they live in terms of how happy they are or not, what their lifestyle is in terms of time and money, which is critically important because that's the practical side. When I get into the fashion part, which magazines do you read online or in print is important. Your occupation is critically important because do you live your job or is that just a part of your life? Which of the following does express who you are? And it's so fascinating. Sometimes people tick all of these and sometimes someone's ticking one. But I need to know that when you go into a store and you're shopping, are you going to be going somewhere that's like minimal and 7 shades of gray? Are you going somewhere that's eclectic or retro? Because I want the hairstyle to work for you head to toe. I need to know how quiet or loud your hairstyle will be. I need to know whether, so for example, if we were thinking about rock and roll and you're a little bit raw and edgy, is it feminine rock and roll? Is it Courtney Love rock and roll? Is it Gwen Stefani rock and roll? What kind of rock and roll is it? Because that's an important thing. How young or old that hairstyle is going to be is another critical factor. And then we get into what is your favorite feature? That's always fascinating to me. What is your face shape? It's so interesting how so many clients would just say fat or round when it's not necessarily true. Do you have a feature that you do not like? That I need to know. And sometimes that really surprises me because I'll go, really? That's a really nice feature. Body type, I need to know if you're an apple, pear, or banana. And I always stand my client up and I always flip her around so that her back is facing the mirror and I look at her reflection. I never look at her person. I always look at her reflection through the mirror to make sure that the hairstyle is balanced. I need to know what you like about your hair and what restrictions you have. And then of course, which hairstyles do you not like? That is a great question. And which hairstyles do you love? And I always finish it off by asking, do you have any photographic references? And of course that is important. But I don't rely on a photograph because relying on a photograph, that's not usually who's sitting in my chair. And usually it's unrealistic in its expectations. So what we have here are our 3 wheels of fashion. How quiet or loud is the hairstyle, the fashion and the lifestyle, and the sensuality of the woman. So when I look at the personality of a hairstyle, so when we look at this one here, would you say that it whispers, screams, or shouts? So Jason, what would you say it does? Are you there?
Are you watching the comments, Viv?
I can't see them, I'm afraid.
Okay. So a lot of people are saying whisper.
Okay.
Me, I would say shout. I'm looking at it and saying shout.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I mean, depending on where you live, and if this lady was walking down Madison Avenue, it's a little edgy for Madison Avenue. But if she was in the East Village of New York, it's it's actually quite commercial. But then the question is, if we took this blow dry and made it sleek and smooth, and if we made her a natural blonde, where would she be then? I'd like to get some feedback. I know I can see the comments, yes. What would you say, Derek?
You're toning her down to a natural blonde?
Yeah, a natural blonde and a smoother blow dry.
Definitely business whisper.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm from New York, New Jersey, right? So, if it's platinum, you're shouting or you're screaming, especially with a shortcut.
Yes.
But depending on where you are, people are saying, listen, that would be a shout in some areas, right? So.
Absolutely. So the thing is, she's a blonde and she's got a short haircut and she's got a little bit of a raw finish. But what if you got the blonde just too loud for where she's comfortable? And what if the finish is just a little too relaxed and undone for where she is comfortable? You're in trouble. Meanwhile, you did a beautiful blonde, you did a great haircut, and you're thinking, I don't understand why that client's not happy. The next thing is classic, trendy, or edgy. That's where I want to know what is your fashion and your lifestyle and your occupation. So I'm just looking at how quiet or loud this is within these three wheels. And I'm looking at, okay, so is she more classic? Is she more trendy? Or is she more edgy? So what would everyone say she is here?
So I'm going to go verbal while everybody types. I'm going to say between classic and trendy.
Yeah, I mean, right now, sort of this great texture is very, very cool. But I wouldn't call it edgy, but for some people, they may, again, depending on where they live in the world, they may consider that very edgy. Now we have the boyishness, the feminine, and the sexy. So obviously she's got that whole energy of sensuality playing out here. For some women, the more sexy you make them, the more in love they are with their hairstyle. And for other women, if you make them too sexy, they're very uncomfortable. So again, it's understanding where they live within the three wheels of fashion. So when we look at this beautiful lady here, you can see that she has a major transformation. When I met her, guess what she said? Derek, do you think it was easy to talk her into getting all of that hair cut off?
So I'm going to go with a big no. But I got to say, the shorter her hair went, the better it looked on her.
Absolutely, it does. So the narrative was so interesting. I gave her the consultation form, which was really what helped me, because if I had just stuck with inches of hair and talking about the hairstyle, I would never have convinced her and educated her into this look. She was tired of her long hair, but she didn't want to lose any length. She wanted just some more layers put in her hair, and she just wanted to keep a longer look. She felt that her hair made her look older, and she felt that her hairstyle was aging her, was pulling her face down. So I said to her, well, would you be interested in a hairstyle that is more sexy than you're currently wearing? Would you be interested in a hairstyle that's going to balance your face and actually make your face look more oval? Would you be interested in a hairstyle that's more youthful and more fresh? Which out of these three wheels do you think was the most important wheel to this woman? The personality of how quiet or loud her hairstyle was, the lifestyle and the fashion, or the sensuality? Because often there'll be one wheel that would be more predominant. So I'd love to get some feedback as to which one you think it was. Oh, so we're seeing sensuality. Yes.
I'm going to go with sensuality. And Viv, I got a quick question. Did you roll her hair up under before you cut it? You know, the old technique where you take it, roll it up under to show them the look beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to vogue around the face and like raise the hair and show them. But the thing that I realized from the consultation form was she clearly said, I want to be sexy. I want to be feminine. She clearly said that I want my face shape to be oval. She knew that her face was looking older by having this hairstyle. So if I'm in a conversation about inches, I'm not in a conversation about fashion and style. I'm not in a conversation about personality and lifestyle. I'm just in a conversation about inches. This transformation, is it scary to do it? Of course it is, but look at the end result. And I think that's really very, very powerful.
Hey, Vivienne, there's a couple of questions that came in that were interesting. So Tina had said about training your stylist to understand what version of blonde the client wants. So I know you had talked about color, and I know you're more of a cutter. And my rebuttal to that as someone that's a cutter is someone like that. We have a lot of clients that are exactly that woman personally in our salon. Do you have to get them to a halfway point where they trust you to be able to do something dynamic? I mean, if that was the picture that you showed and said, here's this woman, she's exactly our client, and you showed the after, they would all sign up. There'd be a line 6 feet apart from each other, but there would definitely be a line around the salon. But what do you think about that in terms of stylists being able to communicate that with the client?
Okay, so I want to give an example here, and we can do it with you actually, James. And even though you're a guy, we will do it with you, right? So James, when you look at these 3 wheels here, out of whisper, scream, and shout, which one would you say you are?
Well, I would say shout for me. And I'll tell you, and that's really funny that you picked me to do that, because being in the industry and not actually doing hair and going to these shows and obviously meeting fantastic people like you and people like Andrew that looks fantastic for 190 because he's known so many hairdressers. I can't believe how good he looks. But I would be completely open to a change. But my wife also is the one that cuts my hair. So she's my hairdresser. And she says, you don't want to do that. Like, even being this quarantine, I'm like, let's go for a mohawk. And she's like, absolutely not. You wouldn't do that. I'm waiting for her to comment on the Facebook group. So she knows me and what I'd be willing to do, because we have, obviously, besides the marital relationship. But
Yes.
I would be somewhere in between.
Okay, so when we come to the lifestyle and fashion, where would you be? Classic, trendy, or edgy?
Same thing, somewhere between trendy and classic. I also feel like because I've gotten grayer over the years, it's hard to be too trendy. So I'm sure 10 years from now, I'm going to dye the gray hair. Right now, it's like, your gray looks so good. Who colors your hair? And I'm like, yeah.
So when you look now at the sensuality, we've got it as a woman here, but let's flip this around as a guy. Macho, masculine, very kind of stylized and kind of prim and pretty. Undone and very kind of raw, sort of sexy. Where would you want to be there?
Well, I would say in terms of me personally, stylized, just because I know I'm the one that has to do my hair, right? So I've been in situations where I've been the model for our salon. So if we have some famous barber come in and they gave me this crazy cool haircut, and it's not as easy to replicate, they're doing day-old hair or 3-day-old hair, and they're getting to stand up in these fun ways, and then the next week I go back to it and I'm the one that has to actually blow dry my hair, and I'm still doing, I'm very, very skilled with a Denman brush, but it's a pain in the ass, right? I'm the one that has to replicate it. So I completely understand where the client comes from in that respect.
Okay. But have you ever had a hairstyle that was too, like, for a guy, you can be very kind of like macho, or you can be that guy that is so groomed and so stylized that some people will go, oh, it's almost a little effeminate, right? Because it's so stylized. Versus there can be the guy that just is so understated and very, very relaxed. So the manlyhood of a guy has its range, just as the femininity does for a woman. So where would you be there?
Probably right in between. I think if I had to be too rough, the bedhead look I know looks great for a cover of Details magazine. But like I said, when you have to do it on your own, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to do the school pickup thing. And, I'm already the dad with the silver jacket on when I do school pickup. So I'm already the odd man out. So you have this crazy trendy hairstyle, and it just keeps it a little too interesting at school pickups.
So then if I design based on the things that you enjoy, and I had a conversation around what we're discussing now, would you feel comfortable for me to cut your hair?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. Now, what about if I get it wrong? What if I give you a hairstyle that's screaming, absolutely screaming? It's very, very edgy, and it's very undone and raw. It's got like this really unkept kind of very cool, gritty kind of guy look going on. How would you feel?
Well, you know what I like, and here's what's interesting. We're very big on the consultation. We're always trying to modify. I like that there's 3 parts of 3 parts, because I feel like even if you didn't nail it the first time, you had a little bit of that balance and the flexibility. So I feel like if we had this conversation and you made it just a little bit edgier than I wanted to, I probably would still be okay with it, because I trusted your guidance, because we had the conversation beforehand.
But would you be as comfortable, because I'm not reading what you actually wanted?
I think I still personally, and I don't know if that's the exact answer. I think that if we had the consultation this way, I would still be just as comfortable with you because I would have felt like you didn't say, "Hey, what are we doing today?" You know, hey, how's your color? You know, or, which is my least favorite thing for a client to be told.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I definitely would feel like you were in more in tune and you actually cared about, you know, what I was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have discovered is also that men are a lot more forgiving than women will be sitting in the chair. And if we cut the hair a little too short on a guy, they're very forgiving. But if the same thing happens on a woman, women are much less forgiving. So now when you look at this, and I just want you to think of this very carefully, when you think about a hairstyle that whispers, screams, or shouts, you've got your conservative person who's cautious about change. You've got your commercial person is very conservative and they want something that everybody else is wearing. Then you've got your classic person. They just want the hairstyle to be timeless. Then right in the middle, we've got trendy. But way over the other side of the wheel, we've got original, we've got edgy, and we've got avant-garde. So we are shifting from where we make our money from 1 to 5. 6 is the sweet spot. As we shift around into original and edgy, you know, edgy is a fierce alternative mix of style. Avant-garde is experimental, pushing boundaries. So we do get people showing up who are experimental and they push boundaries. And we can lose that person when we try and push them over into our conservative group because we do more conservative than we do avant-garde. And we can lose them because we haven't put them in the place where they live within the wheel. Because this represents a personality and a way of life. So when we think back to maybe 20 years ago, when the first ombre happened, that was so original. I remember thinking when I saw the first one, thinking, who on earth is going to have color way down here with a huge regrowth? And that's crazy. And you won't see that person for so long because there's no grow out. It is a grow out. And I remember saying, and it must be 20 years ago, no one's going to do that. How wrong was I? Because what was original, now even the conservative and the commercial woman is wearing, and the people who are more progressive and original are not wearing that look at all because it's on everybody. So you have to recognize a personality and a style. And when I asked you to design to yourself first and develop your own brand, I want you right now to think about that consultation and do that consultation on yourself. And I would love for you right now to say where you are within this wheel, to recognize your own sense of style. And can you push it? Have you got a little bit boring? Is it time for something new because of time for something new? And that is the door opening to a greater level of awareness. And remember how I said the law of attraction? When you start to push this out to the world, it's amazing what comes back. The next wheel we have is the wheel of fashion itself. From 1 to 5 is where we make our money. The minimal, the business, traditional, classic, chic, sophisticated, preppy, elegant, and trendy. They all live there. They are more high maintenance, they need more grooming, and that's where our money is. As we shift around into into country and active sport, yes, they're commercial, but they're low maintenance. And as we swing around the wheel, we get more into the creative, the more flamboyant, the people who are doing their hair at home, much more artsy. So they are the ones that feed our heart, but the other side feed our pocket. But we can start to be creative with this in a very, very practical way because the 3 wheels of fashion lives in that consultation form. And all the work's done for you. The client answers it, and all you do is interpret this. I love this wheel because you have to know what your own style is. And as a woman, do you like to show up feeling glamorous? Do you feel that glamour is a little too shiny and too polished and you prefer feminine? Do you really work well as cute and girly? Do you feel more powerful when you're kind of tomboy or androgynous? Or you like your hair super short and you like that tough look? Where do you live within this wheel? Because if I'm going to do a short haircut, do I want a very tight nape? Do I want a scruffy nape? if I'm doing a blonde, do I want a soft, gentle blonde? Do I want a screaming platinum white blonde? Where do I want that to be? Because those wheels are very important. So what I would like for you to do now is give us some feedback on the ideas of your own style, whisper, scream, or shout, where you live in fashion, where is that? And where you live in terms of the femininity or not so feminine, because when you can design your own hairstyle and you put yourself together head to toe with a clear message, a clear statement of this is who I am and I'm working from head to toe, that's a really inspirational image. It's powerful and you're putting it out to the universe. And as I said, it's an energy field as well. And when that energy is put out there, it's amazing how it starts to come back to you. And I've witnessed this so much. So Derek, do we have any feedback coming through about how people can now start to take these principles into their consultation?
Viv, not a ton because I just said get your questions ready, but everybody is absolutely mesmerized by this stuff right now. I am included. I think this is brilliant the way you're doing this consultation. I have a question for you. When you do these consultations, do you send out some sort of automated consultation prior to the client coming, an email and something like that to that effect?
Well, I have some salons that already have it on their website so the clients can fill it out online. Other clients who, other salons who use this consultation, just simply have the client come in. She sits in reception, fills out the form, just like going to the doctor's office. That time is the time where they're thinking, they're processing this information, and when the form is complete, then they actually go and meet their stylist. And sometimes I will read the form without the person being there, so I can just kind of process it. And I've learned now how quickly to translate it. My consultations now are so quick because the work has been done for me, and it gives me a consistency, which is critical. To be consistent, never presume, never assume that, oh, I know that one, and then get it horribly wrong. And I use this consultation on, I've used it two really powerful times that just stand out in my head. I had a girl that had a ring here, a ball ring, and she had pink hair that was not very pretty. And as she filled out the form, she said classic, eclectic. I'm thinking in my mind, I can't wait to like shave off this underneath, give her this really cool top, put more colors into this pink and make it really amazing. She's so edgy. I'm going to just do something really cool. She had the right face for it. So I'm reading the form and it's like, classic, where did that come from? And the ring and the tattoos, it's like, are you kidding me? So I start to talk to her and she's an intellect. And she said, you know, I did this pink at home and realized it was a huge mistake. And she said, really, I'm very eclectic, but I want something classic that is really interesting. And I was like, whoa, what the heck is that? I ended up doing an asymmetric bob on her. I layered the whole thing through. We did an over direction color of a very cool deep brown with a burgundy, and we did it in lines, but we did it all over directional so that when the hair went back to where it lived, the whole head looked like a burgundy tortoiseshell. It was amazing. So as she moved her head, this incredible thing, it was amazing. She so loved it. She said, you get it, you get it. And it was like, I was going to shave your head, sweetheart. She said, I would have hated that. I was like, oh dear. And I thought, wow, I was just assuming because of the ring and the tattoos that a shaved head would be kind of cool. Wrong. Did something else in a model. This was a model where she had blonde hair and she filled out the form, glamour. She was talking about all these things that she liked. So I said to her, I think that you'd be amazing with a Gwen Stefani meets Marilyn Monroe. I thought that would be really cool. And she got very emotional at the end of the hairstyle. And it was just like, oh my gosh, have I gone wrong? Turns out there were tears of joy, not tears of sorrow. And when she lifted up her sleeve, she had this amazing tattoo of Marilyn Monroe. And it was like, wow. And she was so happy because I designed for who she felt she wanted to be. And when you connect in this way, the technical part, as important as it is, becomes secondary, because if you get this right, it takes the pressure off of you in the other area. Because, you know, there's the fashion designer who sees the total person, who designs and creates a story. And then there's a seamstress somewhere joining the seams in some back room somewhere, getting minimum wage while the designer is generally making more money. So we can be the seamstress, just looking at detail, or we can be the designer, looking at the big picture and really being an image on your total look. And I've always been of that type, where I want to design to the total person, and I want to make sure that it fits you. And I never, ever want to assume. So this has been a very simple way of a guide, which really is helpful. So I came up with this course called One Girl, 7 Looks. And as you can see here, this is a great course where you start with a mannequin head. Everyone has the same mannequin head as me. And we start with a long and we go to the pixie haircut.
Vivienne, can I ask you one quick question before we jump into the whole new section? Because a couple questions came in on this. And this is something from my heart also. We all do that first consultation, right? What about the follow-up consultations, and how do you get them to make a change in the future? Because in my opinion, you should always say, maybe after the 4th or 5th visit, are you looking for something a little bit different this time, or whatever it might be, right? But how do you address that going forward with future consultations?
Well, I'm the kind of person that generally changes people all the time. So I'm the one, it's like, I may change their parting. I may change the blow dry. I like to just create little variations. Obviously, if it's brilliant, I'm not going to fix what's not broken. But I like to come up with at least 3 ideas. I always bring 3 options to somebody, like in terms of like this length, and this length. And I always will say which my hero one is. And with the consultation, I will always be saying, are you ready for a change? Did you enjoy that last hairstyle? Are you ready for something new? And I'm always looking for something fresh and new. So that's my personality, because I get bored really quickly. And it can be subtle things. And when I feel it's really working, I will say, I'm loving this on you. I can't think of anything else to do on you right now. I think this is brilliant. Are you happy? And I go from there. When I get stuck and someone asks me and I don't have an idea, and I did this when I was in the salon, where I I said to the lady, I said, I'd like to get a second opinion if that's okay with you, because I really don't know what else to do on you. I'm being honest, right? I don't know. So I went into the staff room and Jason was there, and I said, Jason, do you mind giving a consultation to my client? I just need a fresh set of eyes. And he looked at me like, what? And I said, I'd really value your opinion. So I brought him to the lady, and I said, this is Jason. I said, I'd really value his opinion, and maybe he can come up with an idea, because I just see you a certain way. I'm stuck. And he actually didn't have an idea, which kind of confirmed that, well, you know, where we are is good. But it was very refreshing and lovely to get a second opinion, and just hopefully to get a different set of eyes, because very often when we go away and the client goes off somewhere else, very often when we come back, they've had their hair cut completely differently. And it's like, what the heck happened? And they got something completely different. And it's like, wow, I've never thought to do that. And that person was brave. I should have thought of that. That was a really great idea. So I think, you know, it's case by case. But I think that, again, I tend to attract people who are adventurous, versus if you're very conservative and safe, you'll attract that type of client. So I think, again, that's where the law of attraction plays out. And you'll see that there are some people in a salon that are always doing new things, and some people that are always doing same. And that's fine, if that works for you, and if that works for your client, and if you're not bored. But for me, I need to have that variety. So with that consultation form, generally, each time somebody comes in, it will be like, has anything changed? Do we need to go through the form again? Sometimes it's twice a year, giving them the form. So again, it's a read on things. And I hope that helps by me explaining that.
Yeah, and Vivienne, a lot of questions. Obviously, this is a funny one, but where do you get your doll heads from? Because everybody seems to like the look of this particular mannequin.
Oh, her name is Gabrielle.
And are we allowed to plug where Gabrielle comes from?
Gabrielle is from Burmax.
Very interesting.
Isn't she lovely?
She is. Well, listen, no offense to mannequin makers, but there's a cabinet in the salon after they do a crazy short haircut, and they're hideous.
Yes, I know. Well, okay, so the question here is, in this course, I asked, do you dress for the men in your life, the women in your life, or yourself? So I decided to ask my husband, honey, if you were going to date any one of these women, which one would you date? So my husband's not a hairdresser, and he looks at them all, and he says, well, I wouldn't date any of them. I'm married to you. I went, sweetheart, we're playing what if. And he went, oh, okay. He said, well, I said, well, who would be a one-night stand for you? And he's quiet. And he says, I'm not that kind of guy. And I went, darling, you're just lovely, but you're not playing along with me here. I need to know, as a man, looking at these women, which one do you find most attractive? Who would you take back to mom? Who would be your one-night stand? And he wouldn't go there. So he said to me, well, I think number 3 would be a very expensive date. I went, okay. I said, well, which face shape do you think looks the best? He went, oh, well, that's obvious. He said, number 1, her face looks fat. And number 7, she's got an oval face shape. Her face is the best looking in number 7. And the thing is that a hairstyle, each one of these hairstyles, now look at it through the 3 wheels of fashion. If you look at which is the quietest hairstyle here, which one is it? So I'd like to know from you all, from 1 to 7, which do you think is the quietest hairstyle? We've got a 3, we've got a 6, we've got a 3, more 3s, okay.
Yeah, lots of 3s, Vivian. I'm waiting. Facebook, there's a little bit of a 10-second lag, so I'm hoping some of the Facebook people give us.
So now we're getting some 1s coming in, which I tend to feel the quietest one is really a 1. But 3 is very classic for sure. When you look at this from a fashion perspective, which is the edgiest out of all of these hairstyles? From 1 to 7, which one is edgy? So we're getting 7s coming in. Lots of 7s.
It's got to be the pixie or the shag.
Yeah, the 6 are coming in and 7s. Okay, now then, sensuality of the woman. Which one do you think is the most boyish? 6s. A lot of 6s. That's interesting. Okay, that's cool. Really cool. Lots of 6s. Which do you think is the most sensual? 2, 4, 2, 1, 4, 7. Which do you think is the most glamorous? 1, 2, more 2s and 4s. So you can see when you look through these different filters, you start to see something quite different, right? So the whole thing about this is understanding that it's not just that it's a nice haircut, it's that the haircut is quiet or loud, it fits her fashion and lifestyle, and it fits the sensuality of the woman. And that is really, really huge. So obviously these all play out very, very differently. And when you look at how they flow through, it's quite interesting. So what I want you to start thinking about when you look at your wardrobe, I really want you to do this. It'd be so great for people to start posting some photographs of makeovers within your group, their before and their after. Do a spring clean, start to really think about how your new look is going to be. Do it with intention, whisper, scream or shout, edgy or classic, sexy, boyish, feminine. And then you're going to be very, very powerful. So the next thing is, how important are face shapes to you?
Absolutely have been not using face shapes as much as I should in the salon. It's something I really haven't considered during consultation or designing a haircut for a client. And in our discussion, going in depth about face shapes, I learned how critical it is to how I balance a haircut.
So the next thing that's important for me is where beauty meets fashion and never compromising beauty. It's easy to be blinded by the latest trends, losing sight of beauty. But my goal is to always design to the oval face shape. My other consideration is profile, straight, concave, or convex. And I always want to design to the straight profile. So you can see here, when the model's hair is draped across her forehead, her profile seems straight. But when her hair is pulled off of her forehead, she has a convex profile. Here we have two profiles, a stronger profile, a softer profile. I follow these ratios on all of my designs, the rule of 3 and the rule of 5. And it's about proportioning the face, because we have to either emphasize or disguise. And you'll notice here the nose looks slightly bigger. And now when we look at the after shots, you can see the nose looks smaller. The fuller hair, the wider opening out gives the illusion of the features being smaller because of the framing of the hair. So we have to determine closing, opening, lifting, which one creates the oval face shape and the straight profile. Here we have again our ratio of 1 to 3 and 1 to 5. And you can see in the ratio of 1, the forehead is larger than ratio 2 and 3. So here we have the challenge of how do we proportion the face? The fringe is rebalancing the face to create the oval face shape. Here we have this cool rock and roll hairstyle. And here we have our nice editorialized sort of glamorous hairstyle. Again, whatever we're going to do in editorializing our looks, we must never compromise the oval face shape. Here we have a good example of how we're elongating the neck and putting more of a focal point around the jawline. Lengthening the neck, again, the jawline is our focal point, and of course the lower part of the face and the lips are more showcased. Asymmetric always works. It works on so many face shapes, especially square and round face shapes. So we can close a hairstyle, we can extend a hairstyle, we can soften a hairstyle. You can see that not only do we have strong images, but also we have beauty that never sleeps, only on a Sunday. So when we look at these lovely images here, out of 1, 2, and 3, which hairstyle do you think is the least attractive? Which one do you not like? So we're seeing ones come in. Oh, lots of ones. A lot of ones. What's interesting about this, thank you for sending in your ones. What's interesting is that I've asked now thousands of people this question, and while we may not agree on many things, everyone agrees on this point, which is that the head looks very narrow here, and it gives the illusion of a pear face shape. You see that pear face shape? So the depth of the hairstyle is skinny, the width of the hairstyle really wide. So which look do you like the most, 2 or 3? And of course, this is just now going to be more about the 3 wheels of fashion as to how sexy and how edgy the look is. And
Vivienne, everybody on Facebook were all ones that came in. So
yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we've got the 3s coming in, which is true. So when I look at somebody and I'm not inspired either by their personality or their face, I know I can trust in the law of 3 and the balance and the proportion. I know I can trust that. And it helps me when I don't have a creative idea, because I don't always have a creative idea. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But when I design to the oval face shape, it's really huge how that plays out. So I'm about to release a collection called the Ponytail Story. And I thought, a ponytail is the most common hairstyle that a woman will do at home. But how about we do ponytails that are fabulous? So I decided to go on this quest to create this ponytail course. And there are about 40 videos in there. And there's a section in there, and I'm just going to show you a tiny bit of it tonight on the ponytail and how you balance the ponytail for face shape. So you can see here, and I want you to look at this now through the 3 wheels of fashion. So if I go back to this first shot, you can see she's romantic, she is feminine, it's not whispering, It's not screaming, but it certainly is making a statement. It shouts. Here we can see it is sexy, it is classic, it is sophisticated, and let me tell you, it was not an easy hairstyle to do. Here we have boho, we have a little rock and roll vibe, but it's very, very feminine. There is a pretty factor there. It's not dirty, it's not gritty, but it's a kind of a juxtaposition of a couple of things. Here we have undone, relaxed, more rock and roll with a faux hawk, and you know, we have a different kind of feeling going on. Here we have classic, less is more, elegant, sophisticated, timeless. So those are the bobs, sorry, those are the ponytails, and they're part of my ponytail course. So I take you through how I create every single one of those looks, working with hair pieces, back combing, etc., etc. But this part I'm showing you right now is part of my how to design to face shape. So which out of these two shots, 1 and 2, which one do you like the most? So we're getting lots of 2s coming in. Well done, guys. So you can see that 2 is very balanced. Where we look at 1, we can see she has a tremendous amount of width in her jawline. Her temple area is much more narrow. She has an angular pear face shape, but here, because the hair is broader and wider here, I changed her head shape to change her face shape. And it's no surprise that this lovely lady loves retro because she loves backcombing and she loves volume. So therefore, when I understand how to build a shape by changing head shape to change face shape, I know that when I blow dry, I could tease in here and I could lift this area to change the shape of her head. So if she was going to be coming to me for a haircut, I would obviously put more layers in her hair to start getting more volume. I would skinny this down. Color-wise, I would do more warmth and gold to the top of her head, and I would shadow the underneath. I definitely would do a side parting. I would also lift this here so that I am elongating her face, which is important. And I would, on my styling, I would definitely tease right in here to change her skull shape in order to change her face shape. Now, when we look here at these hairstyles, again, this is from my ponytail series, we have to find the oval, create the oval to increase the beauty. And I've never had anyone sit in my chair and say, come on, Viv, make me look ugly. Now, I have made women look ugly by doing stupid haircuts on the wrong person, and they may have been a brilliant haircut, but they didn't suit them. So I am guilty of that. Sorry, I am. So when we look at this here, which one out of 1, 2, and 3 is the most balanced in oval? Number 1, she's got her face closed down from the fringe. Number 2, she's got the asymmetric fringe. And number 3, we have elongated the face. Which one appears most oval? So I'm starting to see some 3s come in. You guys are doing good. Lots of 3s. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, loads and loads of 3s. Yes, excellent. So now when we look at this is a question of head shape. You can see here, I intentionally made the head narrow. I intentionally made it very round and full. And here, the volume sits behind the ear. So it's skinny around the face, but the volume sits further back. And that's a very important thing to understand, because very often when you put too much width right here, you can actually age a face and you can make the face look poochier. So out of 1, 2, and 3, which one do you like the most? And we're getting loads of 3s coming in. When I go to salons and I do workshops at salons, my favorite thing to do is just do a styling class, and everyone does photographs their looks and we study face shape. And what I do as part of my training is we photograph it wrong, because you have to recognize wrong in order to know what's right. So we do it wrong and then we do it right, then you have a reference. So with intention, I made this lovely lady's head look small. With intention, I put the width at the widest part of her face so that we could see what is actually happening to her face shape. And again, it doesn't matter if this is a genius haircut. If it doesn't fit her face shape, then I've completely wasted my time. Now let's look here at this profile. Out of 1, 2, and 3, which do you think is the most balanced in the profile, and which is the most slimming? Number 1, 2, or 3? Here we go again. We got loads of 3s. We should be giving away prizes tonight. Everyone's so good. Yeah, 3. When we look at this, I always look at the line of a haircut, the line of color, the line of style. And I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that Viv's going to become a baby colorist, or I am a baby colorist. But I am passionate about color, and I've worked with colorists my entire career. And when I do my own collections, I do color my own collections. So I have a very sharp eye for where color should live and color placement. And I love working with genius colorists. And as you heard, I'm going to be working with Beth Maradi on Monday as she teaches me to be a baby colorist that knows something. So anyway,
we have to rebroadcast that.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm scared. So when we look at this here, you can see how.
Wait, that's a good one. Trevor Sorbet didn't scare you, but Beth does.
Yeah, well, no, Trevor scared me a lot. He really did. So when we look at 1, we can see that we're just giving her much more poochiness. When we look at 2, the balance is wrong. It makes the chin look incorrect, but number 3 is perfectly balanced. So when I'm doing my ponytail placement or any placement for the profile, these are the things I take into consideration. Now look at this, 1, 2, or 3. Which one do you like? We've got a lot of 3s going on here, mostly 3s. Yep, yep, yep. So when you see this, you can see that her profile here is concave. Here it is concave. Here her profile is straight. It looks as though I did cosmetic surgery on her, and I did not. Now, yes, I love high ponytails. Yes, I like low ponytails. Yes, I like a ponytail at the occipital bone. But what you can see here is I've lifted the jawline. I've given some volume at the crown. I have closed the area of the fringe to give the illusion of the forehead being brought forward. Now, what if you're only looking at technique and you haven't taken this into consideration? And now you're wondering why your client doesn't like what you've done. Or she's justified in not liking it. You're defending technique, you're defending your service, but it's the wrong one on the person. So this to me is huge as to how you can rebalance and totally transform a face. And obviously this is amazing. But what I find fascinating in number 2 is look how thick and fat her neck looks and how her chin is actually lifting up, and it doesn't do so on the other side. And had I not been, I was the one that did this, and had I not done this, I would, if I was looking at these pictures, I would go, you know what, she probably had some cosmetic surgery. She went to the dentist and had her jaw fixed, right? But I did this. And wow, what an amazing learn that was, because it made me more respectful of really studying face shape. And that is critical. When we look at the ratio here from 1 to 3, we're looking at even proportions, but our ultimate goal is to also get the 4th correct as well. And that's how I balance and I measure the face. When I get it right, then I have the perfect balance. So that's a little journey into my ponytail story. And I hope that you'll come on board when it launches, because it's pretty cool. So in summary of what I've shared tonight, the old Viv that was trained in such discipline at Sassoons and with Trevor Sorbet was discipline, technique, technique, technique. This is the length we're cutting. These are the layers we're doing. This is the framing around your face. We're going to do the blonde through here, and it's going to be dark through there. The curl, blah, 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 right? Oh, it will look nice short on you. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, 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 right? I don't do that anymore. The first place I go, because I have a consultation that I use, and I always use it, and when I don't use it now, I'm lost. And I've only been using this consultation for the last maybe 6 or 7 years. Before that, I never had anything. The first thing I do now are the 3 wheels of fashion. I look and I go, how quiet or loud is she? Where is she in fashion? How sexy does she need to be? The form tells me, it's not a guessing game. Now, Intuition, which we all have. I trust my intuition, but I haven't always trusted it. And when I trust my intuition, it's generally not wrong. My intuition will say, Viv, back off. She's not ready for that. Viv, go for it. Don't be shy. Go for it. She can do that. Intuition, reading a person, understanding a person. But that's years of observation, years of experience, years of wrong, mistakes, failures, falling flat on my face, clients crying, the beat goes on. I failed forward, right? When I do this, it sets me up to be successful because I'm meeting the client in the landscape where she or he lives. So the 3 wheels of fashion is my barometer. The next thing is absolutely designing to the face shape. And my third and my final thing is the technique. And when I get the technique right, everything else is easy. What this does is it increases the creativity every day behind your chair because you are looking deeper, your observation levels are higher, the form is doing the work for you, you're just the translator. You check in with the client to make sure that you're understanding everything correctly, and off you go. And if you want to create change, this is the way that you do it. But you have to do it on yourself, first of all. So the home play is to work on this consultation. Please do sign up for the soft skills because it really is amazing, and you can do that right now. Now's the perfect time to study this. Role play the consultation. And what I always say when I'm training somebody, and it's wonderful for the youngsters, film the consultation. And when you have it filmed, listen to the consultation without watching. So then you're just listening to your dialogue. You're not watching anything, and you're hearing, was that interesting dialogue? Were I umming and ahhing? Did I interrupt? You're listening to the narrative. Then you switch off the sound and you just watch. You watch, are you pouring through the hair? And I always ask for permission to touch, because when you first have your client sitting in the chair, when they start touching through here and here, you can tell that this is like an important part, or if they're kind of doing this, this is an important part. So look to where they touch, then ask for permission to touch. But very often I'll see people just running their fingers through their hair and they just keep doing this and doing this. And it's like, leave the poor woman alone, right? It's just like a nervous habit, or they're like this with their body language is strong or their body language is closed. You're just looking at body language. And then the final thing you do is you listen and you watch and you ask yourself, did I actually give an extraordinary consultation, and was I truly understanding who this person is? As I mentioned before, my consultations now are shorter and I have clarity, and very often I'll be like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And it just kind of brings me back to the reality of where I am. So what we have discussed from part 1 to part 2 is building the brand and the clients that you want. It starts with yourself. It starts with you designing your own sense of style. You're in the fashion industry. You're in the beauty industry. Be the fashion and the style that is most authentic to you. Don't copy what somebody else is doing on Instagram. Take all the pressure off of you and be the best version of yourself, because today you can be original. Today you have permission to do it. You can do rock and roll, bohemian, classic, glam. They're all in fashion, so you can make it your own. Remember that the law of attraction is you develop your style, and like a magnet, the clients will come to you. The law of compensation should be your barometer for keeping yourself in check. Those 4 emotional drivers, being really clear about where you can get in your own way. And very often when I'm working with people who are talented and they're kind of getting in their own way, I'll say, you're designing with the handbrake on. You've got all this talent, but you don't believe in it. And so, you know, it's so important to have people around you that support you. And ultimately, these 4 lead to this consultation, because without those 4, this consultation is just a narrative that has no backbone behind it. And that to me is the game changer. As I mentioned, we have this survival package. So you can do salonsurvival.vivienne Mackinder, and you can sign up for our survival package. It's really very, very cool what we've worked on. And I also wanted to make an announcement that we have created our own Facebook group, and it's called Hairdressers Create. And so we will be putting the invite to Monday with Beth Minardi in this group. So if any of you want to see me making a fool of myself, you know, you're welcome to come. So basically that's my world and that's my presentation. And these are the other places you can find me: on Facebook, Vivienne Mackinder, and then my Instagram, Vivienne Mackinder. So I hope that tonight has been helpful. And I do have the other points here, should anyone want to ask any questions about the one through these points that we have for homework. And so I'll just open it up for some questions before we say goodnight.
Yes. So we got a ton of them, Vivienne, right? So especially myself, right? That was so mesmerizing. It was crazy cool. So the first one point, I'm going to go through some of your points and you can just blurb in. But first one was, did you forget your why? Right? You started off with that. I love that. So many people forget their why. They get so bogged down in their day-to-day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Next one. Yeah, and this is obviously a John Maxwell one, right? Change your mindset, change your future.
Yeah.
Right. So these are all the things I'm picking up. You can add to them as I'm saying them. In my salon, we had one of the lessons you were talking about, kind of your mindset, right? So we had a motto or a motto, whatever you want to call it, and the answer is yes. Now, what's your question, right? With regard to clients. Prior to their consultation, it's always a yes. Now, how do we make them happy, or to their question, right?
Well, the big thing is people want advice from an expert, and when you look stylish and authentic, and clients admire your sense of style, they want that sense of style too. And when you're creative with your long hair, you put it in a cute ponytail, you're creative and playful. Clients are always excited to see what you're going to do next, because you're an inspiration to them. And, it is about showing up and being that person. And, for myself, I am quite eclectic. And I used to do some really crazy stuff, which is ridiculous on a girl with red hair, but I did. And, I was trying to find my authenticity. And I think that when you develop a great sense of, what I'm trying to do here is teach you how to break down style and teach you how to read someone's story so that you can tap into it. And it takes so much pressure off the technical execution when you can do something quite simple that makes someone so happy, versus trying to complicate things and try too hard when less would have been more. And when we try too hard, we're overcompensating. And when we read the person where they are and we educate them about their face shape, and we can explain what is going to be a great sense of style that they can wear, and we've been sensitive to time and money, in the interest of your budget, I think this would be a great idea. In the interest of your budget, we're going to have to scale back a little bit. We have to talk about something that's more low maintenance on the color, or more low maintenance in the haircut, because what you're asking for is more high maintenance. So that's a language where people go, oh, okay, now I trust you. And that opens a whole nother world, and especially being prepared for how people are going to be when they come back from this incredible experience that the world is going through. Confidence, self-esteem, fear, doubts, insecurities, all of these could be amplified. And we have to be prepared to meet the client who, this is a true story, and I hope I can say it without crying. I've been working like 20-hour days over the last few weeks.
There's no crying in baseball.
So I've been working really hard, and I went out for the first time to see my horse the other day, and I was numb. And as I'm riding around the property, I was so exhausted and numb from what we're seeing in the world and trying to be strong for everyone in my life. I said to myself, I don't even know who I am anymore. The girl that was riding the horse a few weeks ago is not the girl that's sitting on this saddle right now. And it's like, what happened? What happened? And it's like, where did Vivienne go? And I just cried. And I, like many women, it's like you have to find yourself again. And like, what is the new you? And how do you reinvent yourself? And if one thing for sure, I'm starting to learn how to be good at Zoom. And who knew I'd be good at talking to a screen? But what I'm saying is that we've all been impacted. So if you just go back as the hairdresser you were, that's not the client that's going to be sitting there anymore. And you're not the same hairdresser. And you have this incredible opportunity to invest in you with a narrative that takes you somewhere else. And I promise you, from all the people who are sitting in your chair, which is where this content's from, it has totally changed their work and their income and their motivation. And when you have a hairdresser say, I fell back in love with hair again because I'm doing what I love versus being just this robot, you know, no one goes into hairdressing wanting to be a laborer. No one. But many of us do labor. But when you can do commercial, and I've made this as simple as I can, the client fills out the form, you study these lessons, you interpret it, you check in with them, and you get on with it, and you have more clarity about your why. Why am I making it big? Why am I making it small? Why am I making it raw? Why am I making it glamorous? You have a reason why, and it's exactly what she wants. That's liberating. It's a game changer.
Brilliant, Viv. Brilliant. So I've got another one for you, which in my mind was one of the most important lessons, aside from the next two I'm going to talk about, is mirroring. I think mirroring is the most important lesson you can learn as a hairstylist, because if you try and promote your personality over somebody else's, it's not going to work. If they are intellectual, you have to mirror that intellectual. If they are gutter or giggly, you have to mirror that, right? So you said that earlier. So talk to me about that a second.
Well, it's connecting skills versus we can communicate, but not necessarily connect. And so it's connecting on an energy level. When you connect energy-wise, you mirror energy. That's very, very powerful. You know, when someone needs empathy, that you're just quiet and listening. When someone needs encouragement, it's the push and the shove. You can do it. So it's taking a lead. They are sitting in your chair. It's your chair. And you are the expert and you are the authority, and you need to step into those shoes. And if you don't feel it, then it's study, 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 but study with the right people. Don't just be, there's accidental learning. You fall upon something on Instagram or YouTube and you think, oh, that's kind of cool, I'll try it. But then there's intentional learning. And so what I know works is having structure in your learning and building blocks to get somewhere. So you're not skipping all over the place, watching all of this stuff. And what I fear right now, a lot of people are doing around the world, because everyone is online and everyone's become a teacher all of a sudden, and everyone's showing their stuff, is I feel like we're on this merry-go-round. And we're on this merry-go-round going fast and fast and fast. And we're flipping from Instagram to this, to this, to this. And we're busy on our digital devices. We're seeing things, right? Next. Nothing's going in. And it's like on the merry-go-round, you can see that the world is there, but you don't know what it is because you're moving so fast. You need to slow down. You need to determine who is going to be the greatest influence in you being the best version of yourself that you can be? Who has the experience, the knowledge that will withstand the passage of time? And how can you then mirror that? Because trends will come and go, and they're important. But what I'm talking about here tonight is something that will impact how you relate to every single person, because it's your ability to connect that I'm speaking about. And it's also trusting your intuition, and it's developing in school, we're never taught how to develop a great sense of style. There's no lesson. Okay, this is how you develop style. Some people have it naturally. Some people enjoy dressing up and looking at themselves in the mirror and photographing themselves and saying, yeah, this works. And when we see all these celebrities dressed, we tend to forget that they had a hairdresser there, a makeup artist. They had a clothing stylist that went out shopping and brought all the free clothes for them to try on. And they dress, they take pictures, and they make sure that the whole brand and the whole look is great before they step out onto that red carpet or wherever they're going. They are put together by a team. And we look at that and go, oh, that's cool. So we either copy it, which is fine, or we're inspired by it, which is great. But we, as image experts, need to step into that where we've got to take ownership of our own image before anything else. And we're the only profession in the world that faces a mirror. How can we get it wrong? It's like, look in the mirror.
So Viv, I've got a couple, I'm going to coach you for a second because you're going to be on with Beth soon, right?
Yes.
So with that, everybody close their ears for a second because Beth will not drop an F-bomb unless she decides to drop an F-bomb. So I'm just going to say your stuff on the 3 rules of fashion and face shapes was fucking amazing. Balls on. That's a Jersey way, right? So just crazy. And your fail forward was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So anybody have any questions for Viv now? Now that I made my short little snarky funny comment because she's going to get that from Beth for color soon.
Yeah, Vivienne, there's a couple of questions that came in for the Zoom group. Andrea and Rosemary had questions, but they kind of play into each other. Andrea said, with us all being out of the salon, would you suggest doing this consultation with every client, even our returning clients?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
Absolutely.
And Rosemary's add-on to that was, what do you do when you have a resistor?
They are there, aren't they? When they fill out this form, it really makes you think, because there's no, they are your answers. That's how you see yourself. Now, there will be women out there, they'll go, I don't want to answer all these questions. Well, then, so that's somebody that just wants to be groomed, and they will be out there. And it's like, I'm presenting this to you because I want to make sure that I'm giving you the very best version of you I can. And this is a way for me to serve you better, right? And then there'll be that person, I don't have time for this. Okay, so then tell me what you do have time for, because I want to make sure we get this look right for you. And I can only work on information that you give to me. Well, you're the expert, just go ahead and do it. Yes, I can, but I want to make sure that you like what I'm going to do. Do you want to look like everybody else, or do you want something that's designed to you? So you will, if you are a resistor, you tend to attract resistors. If you're a fence sitter, you can't quite make up your mind, you will attract them. If you're a visionary, you will attract them. Now, we all have a little measure of some. The only time when I was working in a salon in New York, and in my entire career, I ever fired a client, and I had never heard the expression before, because English ladies tend to be more reserved and they don't tend to complain, they just don't come back. So you never know why that person didn't come out, they just quietly go away. Where in New York, they will be much more vocal about their opinion. And we have, I think, every alpha female living in New York from around the world. So they're very strong women, which is great. But this one lady, I could not please her. And she was always so difficult. So I felt so miserable, and I dreaded her coming in, and she wouldn't go away. It was like, oh, why don't you go away to somebody else? And she wouldn't, she kept coming back. And I said to her very bravely, I said, I have tried very hard to please you, and I feel like I cannot please you. And with that said, I would like to recommend you to somebody else who would probably be more appropriate for you, because I feel very sad that I cannot give you what you want. She said, oh, I know I'm difficult. Please, are you firing me? And I was like, what's that? That was the first time I'd ever heard that expression. And I said,
Wait, Vivienne, that's not the first time that she's heard that expression. So just to let you know.
yeah, I know. And I said, yes, I suppose I am. She said, please don't. I know I'm difficult, but you know, you really do a great job. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I can't. And I said, it's very sad, but I would far rather you go to somebody else who I think is more appropriate. And I just refused to do her hair. And I felt so liberated. And when I was at Sassoon's, if people wouldn't wear the hairstyles that we felt were right, we just simply refused to do their hair because the brand was so strong. And if you think about a brand that withstood the passage of time, and we all have a bit of Sassoon in us somewhere, anyone who does any type of precision work is born from the Sassoon world. If it was not correct, we did not do it. We were just, we were the experts, and we were a little bit like dictators because we owned the industry at that point, and people would be queuing up to come to us. So we were the bosses, and we were arrogant, egotistical, and we acted like we knew it all. And truthfully, we didn't, but we did. That was part of our brand. We were it. And women would like be a little intimidated, and they were like, oh, whatever you think, okay. Does it have to be that short? Yes, it does. That is the shape. Do I have to show my ears? Yes, because that's the hairstyle and that's what's in fashion and you're going to wear it. You know, that was the attitude. And they would all go off with these ridiculous hairstyles. I mean, they really were. They didn't suit most of the people that wore them, but they were in fashion. And so we were blind, you know, blinded by fashion. There's when they say blinded by fashion, your sense of style and taste and the aesthetic has been blinded by the fashion itself. And we can all look at photographs of ourselves and say, why did I wear that dress? I look like a large belle. Why did I wear those trousers? I mean, we can all go back and go, like, why? Or why did I wear that ridiculous hairstyle? At the time, we were blinded by fashion.
I guess I'll jump in, Viv. Everybody's quiet. You just blew them away. So as usual, an awesome, awesome education lesson. Most people were mesmerized through this whole thing. I actually was mesmerized. I love the consultation process you presented. I love how you formed it into a automated system to a personal system with taking shapes and profiles and all that stuff into it. And I just love that because there's so many stylists that don't take the time to do that. And now is the time to teach your team to redo that, right? So we're in the reset.
We're absolutely in the reset, and it's amazing and it's fun. You know, it gets back to the fun of being creative. We all are creative, and creativity is a muscle that if you do not flex it, it withers and it atrophies. And the most fascinating thing, never let age be a reason not to be creative, because when you look at some of the finest artists throughout the history, they have actually flourished in their latter years in their creativity. So creativity is a mindset. Creativity is the ability to solve a problem. Creativity challenges you to find your original voice. And there's only one of you with one fingerprint, and be the best authentic version of yourself and you will feel liberated. Don't copy me. Don't copy anybody else. Be inspired, make it your own. But when you find your authenticity where you shine, there's a sense of peace, there's a sense of joy, there's an attractiveness, because you don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore. You're just real. And people are drawn to that. And when you are authentic and you're comfortable in your own skin, I think there's more room to be happy, and happy people like being around happy people, and clients love happy people. So I think that's really huge. And I'm really sad if I'm doing something I don't believe in. In fact, today I will not do it. If I'm asked to do something that is totally against my belief system and I know it's wrong, I'd rather not do it. And I will explain clearly why. And I would always say to somebody, listen, I think that maybe if going short is the right thing to do, but they want to stay longer, you know, there may be that time where I say, yes, I will do this today, but we are compromising, and you're not stepping into the best version of yourself. But I understand emotionally you may not be ready, but I promise you, when you are ready to go to that next level, I'm here for you. So right now we will play it safe and you'll feel comfortable, but you're going to
Vivienne, can you pop up your connection page with all the different web links?
Oh.
Perfect. Beautiful. This way everybody can get in touch with you if they have some follow-up questions.
Yeah, and Vivienne, everybody's very curious as to when the Ponytail collection will come out.
Well, I was uploading today, so I think it's going to be next week. We're going to do a soft launch to our Hair Designer TV members, a soft launch, and then we're going to make a big public launch. But I think it will be next week, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Vivienne, I just want to say, this was so brilliant. I was mesmerized, and I've known you a long time, and you just get better and better and better. This is, I've never seen anything as great as this, truly.
Oh, so sweet. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you know what my students teach me, you know, when I'm working with people, and, you know, this didn't come easy, because when I would be in photo shoots and the photo shoots would not be, the photographer wouldn't be liking my work, and they would like rip my work apart. It was very hard to have a stiff upper lip and just say everything's fine, and I would take it very much to heart. And I remember one time when I had someone sit in my chair and I had no idea how to do the hairstyle. I was at Sassoon's. I was a young stylist, and she was a bride. And because I had very classic training at college in the history of hair, I was actually quite good at classic hairdressing. So Sassoon's just give me this lady, and it's like, oh my goodness, she wants to have a bridal hairstyle. And I wanted to escape. I wanted to run out of the salon and go try and escape through the staff room back window, and I couldn't fit through the window. Otherwise I would have gone. And so I knew I had to go back to the chair. And when I went back to her, I was so scared and so terrified. And I remember that day saying, I never want to feel this ever again in my life, to have someone ask me to do something that I don't know how to do. And I just want to feel competent, and I want to be able to have such a diversity of skills that I'm able to be a good professional. And that day of feeling so small and pathetic, and those days that followed as working with photographers and different people where I felt useless, was probably the reason I drove so hard to be educated, because it's such a horrible feeling useless. And so, you know, I still don't feel like I've got it all. You know, still a long way to go, but that's that, you know, you have one of those moments in your life that it's like it's a game changer, and you think, I'll never be like that again. And I think many people are having that right now.
And I think if people step into your world and what you have to offer, it will be a game changer for anyone who decides to change their game.
Yeah.
On the technical level, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, guys. I so appreciate the opportunity to share with you all. I really do. And I appreciate people giving up their time this evening, and for those who are on Facebook as well to share. So, and thank you for this amazing platform that you've created.
Vivienne, thank you for donating your time and your energy.
Yes, Vivienne, fantastic.
It was just, it was amazing. It really was amazing. I think you are, you're the bomb, period. I mean, it was the best I've heard for the consultation process. And I've been around for probably, oh God, now I don't want to date myself, 30 plus years. I'm not as far as Andrew, right? But 30 plus years. So just, it was amazing. Just
I have the plus.
and I can't wait to see you and Beth together, because I'm just going to sit back, pull up a cocktail, a proper martini, and laugh my ass off.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 11 o'clock on Monday morning live, and she sent me a diagram.
That's
and
okay.
I keep
Drinking
looking
is okay.
Yeah, 11 o'clock. Yeah, I keep looking at a diagram. I don't even know which way is up.
I have to send her a mount for her phone, because I don't know if she's going to be able to color and hold the phone at the same time.
It'll work.
Well, thank you so much. Well, good night to everybody, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, and have a beautiful weekend.
Don't forget, everybody, to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch the replays, and tell your friends about the replays. It's Salon Ops, 2 words, SALONOPS. We need to get up to 300 subscribers so we can customize the channel to bring you better content. And Vivienne, I'm amazed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Bye-bye.